This is the lovely class. Is it okay for me to show everyone yourselves? See who did make it on this snowy day? Isn't that nice that they all came? And why is this not trending now? There. That's who's all here. We're on video. Just for fun. Okay. So back to Hume and some seriosity. So less lively ideas. How do we notice the difference there? Very interesting problem. But all ideas seem to be derived from impressions. So all my memories seem to come from these previous impressions. But I can't trust them, notice? We've already discussed that. We have trouble with that. So how do we then metaphysically deal with this? It seems, for example, that there are some problems that we routinely have without realizing. We base our practical memories on custom and habits of our minds. Remember, Francis Bacon talked about that a little bit too. The idols of the mind, the idols of the cave, the idols of the theater, the idols of the marketplace, altogether 4, right? The cave, marketplace, theater. I'm forgetting one. I can't remember. But all those are the idols of the mind. And so that's another persistent dilemma that we realize. Resemblance, association of ideas, contiguity in time or place, and cause and effect. I'm going to start with cause and effect. Watch how this all relates to cause and effect. Up until Hume, we think of causal relationships, causal sequences as necessary. Notice how important that is to, say, the cosmological argument for the existence of God that Aquinas gives us based on Aristotle's cosmological argument that there has to be a prime mover, right? Stuff moves. And for stuff to move, something had to move that, and so on, until, of course, you get to the point where you say, well, but it couldn't go on ad infinitum into the past, because then time is actually going that way instead of this way, and we couldn't have gotten to now. So there had to be a beginning in time, right? And that first event would be the prime mover that starts everything else moving, or
starts
God.
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang, exactly. That's still exactly how scientists think of it. There has to have been some, and usually when you say, okay, everything started from x minus 1 or something. Okay, well, but what started x minus 1, right? We automatically want to go that next step. That's probably because of the recursive feature of human thinking, right? But how do we know that those are necessary? Hume talks about playing billiards. And so I'm lined up, and I have the cue ball, and I hit the cue ball into the other ball. Make the shot, right? Exactly what I wanted to do, right? I can do that all over again. Put the balls exactly the way they were, take the shot exactly the same way, I get exactly the same results each time, right? As long as there's no earthquake, no one's messing with the table, putting magnets in the balls or anything, right? We presume that all these things are going to happen exactly the same way. But here, we can imagine something. For example, I line up, I take the shot. As the cue ball is heading towards the other ball hops up in the air and goes, ha ha, you can't get me. And the cue ball goes, oh, you can't do that, and plops into the hole, scratch. What happened here? And actually, this isn't something Hume thought of. He thinks of something similar, but for me, what happened was I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I just popped into a tune, right? And the poor cab has dip problems with the tires, all that sort of thing. But obviously that's nonsense. And in the real world, the balls would do exactly what they had been doing, right?
It's not fun then.
But the interesting thing that he brings up is I can imagine something else happening. If I can imagine something else happening, then it's not logical necessity, that I'm talking about in causation. Because logical necessity, he says, you cannot imagine the contradiction in your mind. You cannot hold the contradiction in your mind. I can't really think this is a cup and at the same time not believe that it's a cup. That would be a contradiction. This is a cup. It's not a cup. I can't do that. I can imagine myself, in a kind of a time sequence thinking it's a cup. It's plastic, with a lid, it's particles. I could go through various thinking, but actually I can't form the idea that it's a contrary or contradictory notion at the same time that I'm having that image of it as a cup. So he seems to be correct that way. And it puzzles me too, because if you think about it,
and this is if you are sure that it is a cup, yeah.